Hi, I'm Representative Al Baldessau, and this is Who's Looking Out for You with my great co-host, Representative Jeanine Nada from Merrimack. Welcome
Yeah.
once again. Jeanine, we haven't done a show in about a week now, right? Is
Yeah,
that what it's been?
yeah, it's been a week.
Okay, in that week, how many miles have you done?
Well, I got to tell you, you're going to be disappointed because I'm tapering down because tomorrow I have I have to run 24 to 26 miles
Okay,
in preparation for a marathon that's coming up in November. So I don't know what I ran this week, but my total for the year now is 1,406 miles.
That's awesome. I want somebody from Londonderry there, especially a woman in Londonderry, come on this show and show me how you ran more miles than this state representative. What do you think? We'll challenge and we could talk about endurance and other stuff there down there. What do you think?
I met a lady one time, her husband was an ultra marathoner, and she would like drop him off somewhere in Massachusetts and he would run home. I think he lived in
God
Londonderry.
bless him.
She never took him far enough. He kept finding his way home.
Well, PT is great, you know, it's the way to go there. But
Are
anyway,
you
we
doing
got
PT these days?
a little bit. I maintain my boyish figure. But anyways, we got some great guests today.
And I like the setup
And
with
the
the table
setup
again.
is awesome here, and I'll introduce them here.
All right.
We have the Deputy Speaker, Sherm Packard. We have Doug Thomas, who sits on
committee.
Science Technology. And we have one of a longtime serving of the community, Tom Dolan, former chair of the council, running for state rep for the first time.
Welcome, gentlemen. And
Yeah, welcome.
this is my first time meeting you, and I saw your signs on the way in, and I was wondering, I went, oh, those are nice signs, red, white, and blue.
Well, I'm going to start off with Tom, okay? You know, since you guys have been around Tom, why would you want to get involved in this here, you know, and you're a counselor?
Well, thanks for having me, Al, and I appreciate it very much. Yeah, I've been on the council now almost 20 years. I've been serving the community. Service for many of us, as you all know around the table, service is something that's kind of in your blood and in your bones. When I grew up, I got that taste when I went to West Point and served in the Army.
And I don't hold that against him, Jim.
Yes, yeah, I mean, Marine here.
So I've been serving at different levels, and the last 20 years I've been serving my community. So I figured now I wanted to step up to the state level and serve as a state rep, and acknowledging that our current state reps are doing a great job here in Londonderry, I wanted to add additional filter to what's going on in Concord, and that filter is when laws are made and when statutes are created, what is the impact on the towns? And I think I can offer that as an insight, having lived with all the laws that the state hands down to us. I think I can help at the state level, helping fellow legislators understand the impacts to towns.
Now, I've been up there 12 years. You've been there, what?
8 years?
8 years. Doug's running for his third term. Now, the deputy speaker here, well, a lot of people under
Well,
don't realize.
you know, it's the 200th anniversary of the State House.
That's right.
You
And
weren't there
I
for
think
the-
he was up there, him and Betsy McKinney.
I came in the year after.
Yeah, they were riding horse and buggy up there back then. But anyway, Sherm, give us a little bit of insight why you're running again.
Well, I also believe in community service, obviously. I mean, having been up there 28 years now, you know, what I always said, as long as I feel I can make a difference for the betterment of the citizens of both Londonderry and the state, then I'm going to continue to run. And, you know, I think every year I've been up there, I've made a difference.
What do you think? He's done a great job as the deputy speaker.
He's been
I
there
don't
the
care
whole
what
time
the
I've been there.
Democrats say about him. You know? Yeah.
What committees were you on? I know you run the
Well,
show before.
I served on the Transportation Committee for 26 years. I was chairman for 12 years on and off. You know, right now I served on rules on and off. I've been on rules for quite a few years. Right now I'm the vice chairman of legislative administration. I've been on that for the last 4 years. You know, that's been my main emphasis. I mean, coming from the automotive industry, you know, what I do.
Good place for you.
I've always, you know, always been on transportation and worked trying to make our state a safer place to drive in.
You know, the nice thing about with Sherm as being on those committees, he looked out for the taxpayers here in Londonderry with Exit 4A, because we were supposed to bond years ago for $5 million to go towards that project. But Sherm, pushing through the background, got it on the 10-year plan, and hopefully, I think, what, Sherm, 2020, or is it up in the air, or?
Well, all the permits for 93 expire in 2020. And that's why if something's gonna be done, it has to be done. I mean, we've been playing with this, as Tom well knows, for 25 years now.
Right.
We've been
Right.
talking about Exit 4A. And, you know, I mean, Tom could probably address the council part better than me, but, I mean, we just keep putting money in towards it. It started out where it's gonna cost us about $10 million roughly, you know, for the whole project, and now we're up to 55.
The never-ending project.
And the never-ending project, just like 93 was never-ending. You
Well,
know,
Everett Turnpike is currently a parking lot. When people get off work, it doesn't move, it just stops.
93 is the same way. Unfortunately, they expect to be done with 93 by, you know, 2020 when the federal permits run out.
Or before your grandchildren, we hope.
Well, yeah.
Well, the nice thing about it, hopefully, you know, we keep pushing to make damn well sure Londonderry's obligated for $5 million, we're not, no more.
Right.
And that's why it's nice with Sherm being over there and having the connections.
Londonderry and Derry are both $5
Londonderry and Derry,
million,
right.
yeah.
I said, oh, heck.
You want to go after Doug? You know, he's running his
I
third
know,
term or
yes, I
something,
know,
right?
he's been on
You-
my committee both those
right,
terms.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mhm. Why?
No, why are you
Well, I
saying, why are you
Yeah.
on that committee?
By the way, great letter in the Londonderry Times on energy.
Well, thank you. I thought it was time that people could maybe simplify this highly complex process of what makes up your electric bill. And as you know, sitting on there, power, electricity, the auction process and everything is highly complex. Can't hope to explain to anyone in just 2 words. And so I thought, well, let me go through an electric bill and at least neither for or against, but just say, what are the components of your electric bill? How are the, why are the costs where they are, and how it gets done? Because I'm sure that most people, they like to see the bottom line, right? That's what it really amounts to. But it might help to understand why you're paying so much for this portion and that portion. And some people are asking, what are the costs involved in this thing? What does citizens benefit charge really mean? What does transmission really mean? So I thought, let me try and put something down there, simplify it so people could understand it. And I hope it helps a few people understand their bill.
Out of everything on the electric bill, what is the most expensive?
Well, by far the energy portion, which is, by the way, no longer in control of the electric utility. The cost of energy is now done by the free market through ISO New England, which is the independent systems operator that manages the grid, helps keep the lights on, and they oversee the auction process. And the interesting thing about energy is that each of the various generators, be it nuclear, oil, whatever, they bid on what they want for a price to sell that energy, but they can only bid so much capacity that they have. And the last generator that bids on a price that meets the capacity required to keep the lights on, that's the highest price because the price keeps going up. That's the price that everyone gets for selling their energy. So, and solar and wind, they don't bid on the process. They sit back and wait, and they get whatever the highest price is. And so, energy is a major factor, and capacity, natural gas being one of our biggest, fuel generators. The price spikes in the wintertime because of lack of, fuel, and so there are ways to keep that price down, but it's highly complex.
Do you have the ISO New England app on your phone?
I do.
I
ISO to go.
can't reach my phone because my scarf will
Right.
rub against the mic. So you want to get yours out and tell us what the price is for
Now-
energy right now at this
Wait,
second?
While he's doing that, I know one of the benefits of having Tom running is he deals with a lot of businesses here in town, being the counselor. So he understands the need and the complaints, I guess, you get on the energy costs and stuff like that.
In
we
fact,
got them.
one of our recent, I think, successes, and hopefully we can expand on this, is up in the north part of town. There's a Superfund site, Auburn Road landfill, which has not been buildable for obvious reasons since it was declare it a Superfund site. So we really haven't done anything with that land, but recently we fielded some bids where we're gonna rent that out to a solar power company, and they're gonna put a solar farm in those fields, and it's gonna yield the town over $200,000 a year in rent receipts to the town, which will help reduce taxes locally.
Is it a subsidized solar field, or is it free enterprise?
It's free enterprise.
Now, are they still on the ball? We just supported the governor's veto because what's happening with the solar farms that want to, where they can do up to 5 megawatts of power. Right now, I think it's up to 1, right, megawatts on homes
Right.
and other stuff. But they wanted to charge, you know, Eversource and others retail. And we're picking winners and losers on there, so
Right.
we killed the bill, you know, in support of the governor there, his veto, because we felt that they should be at wholesale. So I don't know if that affects that company now, whether they're still gonna be in play, or whether do they still get retail? You know, I mean, if they go with the project,
Well,
retail cost?
The prices change almost hourly
Oh, yeah.
on the market.
Did you
But
bring
for
it up?
solar
Yeah.
is different.
Right. The solar on net metering, I believe we passed a bill a year ago that had the PUC look into a more reasonable price to get for net metering, and I believe they dropped it down to 12 cents per megawatt hour, per kilowatt hour, I believe. It was as high as 16 cents. But, you know, when you sell it back from solar to the utility, they got to pay something around 12 cents per kilowatt hour. Yet the wholesale price is around, well, right now it's 4.27 cents per kilowatt
And
hour.
that cost gets shifted down to the consumers on there. That's why we were concerned. We didn't want to pick winners and losers,
Right.
you know,
Th-
in
This
the
particular
industry.
plan, my understanding is they're gonna take the energy created, and it's gonna be pushed up to the grid. It's not gonna be used by local vendors or local homes or whatever. It's gonna go up to the grid. So
Right.
the only benefit to the town is the rent receipts that we're gonna get. So
Right.
we're gonna help reduce our overall tax rate.
Right.
And we're
He's got
finally
his phone
using up
out.
some
Yeah.
space that's been sitting there,
Right.
because that's
Right.
directly behind my home where
Right.
I live.
Like I just mentioned right now, the current wholesale price per kilowatt hour is 4.27 cents per kilowatt hour. That thing changes almost
Oh, all the
at
time.
5-minute
Yeah.
intervals. Interestingly enough, the fuel mix right now at this second, 71% of the fuel used to generate electricity is coming from natural gas. 71%. That's huge.
Well, we have, what's it, Granite Ridge here in Londonderry, but they don't power up every day. That's, you know, they're
No.
only doing peak power.
Right. They again, on the auction market, you auction off to ISO saying, I can supply X number of megawatts for tomorrow and for the next time period at a certain price. And that's what they're obligated to provide.
Yeah.
If there's a peak period that comes up, ISO will go to our base loads, which would be natural gas, coal, oil, and they'll say, we need X number of more megawatts within 15 minutes. And this is the price we'll pay. And they have to spin up. So there's that. Then there's also prices mixed into your electric bill that comes from ISO, which accounts for the fact that, you know, you have coal and oil and primarily that sit around for almost the entire year not producing energy because they're not needed. They're the most expensive ones to operate. But you need them for like the wintertime, for when you have a cold snap and you need the extra capacity, so they have to stay online for months on end, not producing electricity, but being ready to at a 15-minute notice. ISO New England pays to keep them online that entire year. And, you know, that money is transferred through all New England states to help share that burden as well. But there's that factor as well. There's a
No.
lot of moving parts in
On a
bill.
rainy day like today, solar's not
Right.
not
No,
adequate.
yeah.
Wind is not adequate. So what are you left with?
You have
And
no
then you
choice,
have
yeah.
some that don't want any natural gas to be used. I'm like, really?
Right
And-
now, renewables are at 9%, and I would guess that the bulk of that is probably bio, wood burning.
Wood.
Yeah.
wood shavings and things.
I would guess,
This is why that committee is on its own planet. You know?
Yeah, you were kidding.
With its own
very,
language.
Very, very, very complicated subject matter.
I filled in many times on the committee there for
Yeah.
reps that didn't show up. And it was interesting there. And I have solar on my house. I lease it. I couldn't afford to buy it.
Yeah, same with
But
our
I mean,
house.
I saved myself a couple $100 a month in my electric bill just having the solar on my house. I mean, my house.
Having
was-
the kids move out also
Yeah.
really helps bring
Oh,
the
but I
electric
still
bill down.
I still have 6 there. You know what I
At
mean?
the house?
So yeah, my home. Yeah, I got my
well, I'm
wife's
down
2
to
kids.
one right now.
My wife's 2 kids. My brother moved in. I got my son Eddie. He comes back and forth from the TV show. He lives out of hotels and then back at the
Oh,
house.
that's right. He works on a TV show. Yeah.
But anyways, you know, there was something I wanted to hit Sherma because he was a big player in this here, and I know we all supported him, you know, on passing that 2-year spending plan with the tax breaks. You want to talk a little bit about that there? So maybe Tom will get a little on what we did the last couple of years.
Well, this is something that, you know, as Republicans, we've been pushing for a long time, is to reduce the BPT and the BET.
The
You
business
know,
enterprise tax. I
the
like
Yeah,
to-
business
if you
I
could
like to
enterprise
say
tax
it.
and the
What
business
yeah.
profits tax. If we go back to the early 2000, no, it was in the 1990s, the business enterprise tax was put into place. And I said it was a bad idea at the beginning, and I actually was one of the few Republicans that voted against it at that time. But it was set at 0.25% at that point, and it was never supposed to go up. You know, and then it went up to 0.50, you know, 0.50, and then it went up to 0.750.
Wow,
You
that was
know,
during the Democrats when they were ruling.
I
Yes.
can't remember honestly which
Because I know
when it was. Yeah, but
They raised
you know,
100 new
right,
taxes and fees
right.
last time they were in charge.
When they were in charge back in 6, 7, 8,
yeah,
well,
8,
7,
7,
8,
8,
9, and 9 and 10. They did raise 100 new taxes, and that's when they brought in the LLC tax and the campground tax and everything else.
Right.
And that was brought in, because that's when I was minority leader. And that was brought in at 10 o'clock at night. I was there. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the head of the DRA came in and said, I just found you $75 million. And $30 million of it was the LLC tax. About $10 million was the campground tax. And the rest of it,
I
they
remember
just,
that,
they just
yeah.
took about half a dozen different departments and raised their revenue estimates.
That was like 11 o'clock or 12
Yeah.
o'clock
It
at
was,
night.
it was
I heard it
about,
was
it was
very
about
late.
10 o'clock at night
Yeah.
when they came in.
And what was the attendance? You had a quorum?
Well,
Well,
they
that was the committee of conference.
yeah, they had the quorum there at the
That
committee.
was the committee of conference there, and, you know, I mean, we basically had one seat on the committee of conference committee, you know, Neil Kirk was on the committee of conference. I mean, there was nothing Republicans can do about it. We said we didn't want it, but in the
And
bottom
you-
line, the Democrats control the committee of conference, you know, as we control it when we're in charge. And so they accepted
called
all
a
this.
caucus there, and I left. I thought they were going in for a caucus, going to come back and vote for the budget. And then the next morning, I hear, like you just said, they brought in all these
Yeah, they brought
projected
in,
revenue
they brought in all
fees,
these,
new
you know,
taxes. And
no
fees.
hearings, nothing. You know, here it is, brand new, the LLC tax,
Right.
$30 million. And they said, well, it doesn't matter, the businesses will pay for it. Well, we were taking, in essence, $30 million out of the businesses
Right.
of the state of New Hampshire.
And
And then the campground tax, which was, you know, $9 million, roughly, 9 to 10, I can't remember the
And then
exact.
the $30 DMV tax, I mean, user fee or whatever that was, I'm sure you must have got
Right.
a lot of complaints on that there.
Well, that was the registration fee.
Registration,
The
yeah.
registration fee that they put into place for 2 years, you know, to get extra money for the highway fund, which is a whole nother issue. Yeah, that was in place for 2 years. I think they doubled it, if I remember correctly. They
Well,
doubled
I
the
can tell you,
registration fee.
as the new guy here, if elected, I will promise that from me, there'll never be an income tax and never be a sales tax in New
Well,
Hampshire.
yeah,
Oh, that's
all of
awesome.
us.
Yeah, that's
But
it.
could you repeat that
Yeah.
again? You said it was an LLC tax
The
and
LLC tax, which
Campground
was $30
tax.
million.
campground.
Yeah.
And
30
the
million.
campground tax was about $9.5 million, you know, estimated. And then they arbitrarily raised the rest of it, the difference between that and the 75 million. You know, when Ways and Means makes their revenue estimates, they just took a number of different, you know, departments and raised the revenue estimates. number of different taxes and raise the revenue
Well,
estimates for the
when
difference.
I was first elected in 2010, the Democrats were just outgoing
Yep.
as reigning leaders, and
Yep.
I remember that their leaders saying, God, what her name was? But
Norelli?
no, the lady, she was deputy speaker
Oh,
last
right, yeah.
time
He
she was
probably-
in.
Yeah,
March?
I
Was it
mean,
March?
Linda Foster,
Yeah.
I think it was, from
Well, they
New
said,
Boston area.
we don't know where we're going to get the money from. We just put out what we want to spend money on, and then we look for the money. And I'm like, that's how you're running the state? How long would you get
Right.
to keep your house if you ran your household that way? You can't.
Well, let's remember, and you were there, Al, when Representative Dan Eaton from Stoddard got up on the House floor and said, we have to figure out how much we're going to spend
Right.
before we figure out what the revenue is.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is that, if we're going to spend, $15 billion, then we have to raise $15 billion. Not, we can only raise $12 billion,
Right.
and that's what we're going to spend. It's, that's where they needed the extra $75 million, because they had, spent the money, and so they needed to find ways to
And didn't
supplement
they
it.
also balance the budget by using a credit card to pay for the credit
Oh,
card and
yes.
using one-time
They bonded.
Well,
money
they,
from
they,
the government?
they did get,
federal government?
that was when when they were, had that money coming in from the federal government.
Almost
And I think it
300
was,
something million.
I was gonna say it was closer
Yeah.
to $400 million.
Because we had a cut almost
One-time money
900
coming in.
million under
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
When we took back over.
Well, we had said, and if you remember correctly, Al, we had said from the minority office that the next budget was gonna be $800 million underfunded.
Right. Yeah.
And it turned out to be $850 million.
That's right.
And I mean, we did everything we could. We actually produced an alternative budget so that wouldn't happen. And of course,
And now we
didn't
have
go
surplus.
anyplace.
Got Republicans
now we have
in
a
trash
$100
can
million
and-
surplus.
Yep.
Well, that's
Well-
why it's going to be great to have Tom coming on board, because I know, that will make a difference. He understands the budget process.
Right.
He understands the no taxing, keep our hands out of people's pockets.
Right, I've been through 19 municipal budgets, and we've underrun every single one.
Right. Doug, you were going to jump in on something?
Well, that $100 million budget, isn't that the money that we put into the rainy day fund?
Yes.
Yes, and that's the
It's
recommended
raining today,
amount.
but I don't think we should spend it.
Right.
But that's the recommended amount, I believe, that our bond agencies recommends for the state to keep us at the best bond rating,
Right.
so we can get the best loan rates. So that money is there for catastrophic issues, not for starting new programs that we don't know how to sustain afterwards.
No, we had the governor on the show last week, Governor Sununu, and we were talking about the rainy day fund, and he just, was talking like he's Joseph in the Old Testament, like how we have to prepare for when days down the road we don't have a surplus and things do change and there's a recession. So we're planning ahead.
Right.
And that's what happens when you have Republicans in the corner office and in the Senate and the House. So let's keep it that way.
Well, it makes a big difference because if Sherman, I know, he's not there a lot longer than me. My first two terms I was in the minority. I voted against both those budgets. And Sherman was leading the fight, over there as the, minority leader. And it was tough, and I don't vote on any
I think,
taxes or fees.
No, I
good
don't
financial
either.
management, I think, means you got to make tough decisions and be willing to make tough decisions. I'll give you a local example that something that I would want to see. We're talking about a new sidewalk down by the kindergarten over by off of Pillsbury Road, and I'd like to see that get built. A lot of people would. It's about $200,000, but in my opinion, we didn't have the money last year to do that, and I advocated for it to fail. Not because I didn't want it, or
Right.
didn't think it would be a good thing to do. I run things through a filter, and that is, what's the best thing for the taxpayer? And I
Right.
think last year, the taxpayer couldn't afford that. We had too many other things going on, so
Right.
I voted to have it defeated. Yeah, that was a tough decision, because that was a very popular
Right.
item.
The other thing I was going to say too is getting back to surplus and fees and so forth. Things like your electric bill have a lot of hidden fees in it, and I don't like that. And so we have to be careful for programs that they want to start or expand. Where do you get the money from? Oh, we'll just charge you another 25
hide
cents
it.
in your
Yeah.
electric bill. Most people don't see that.
Right.
It mounts up over time, and so I don't mind having programs that are worthwhile, that can be sustainable, but if you're gonna have them, put them out in the open. Let people know what, put it in the budget if you need be. But to put them or hide them in your bills, people are already saying why the bill's so expensive. That's part of the reason.
Well, one of the things we kept getting beat up on in our schools, the state's not giving enough money. What many people don't realize, and I'm hoping you're going to see, when they say more money from the state is all the taxpayers. That means the SWEP, the statewide education property tax, we would have to raise. You've got like Sherm and others and myself and Jeanine and Doug, we haven't raised that, 9 years? The statewide education property tax. We sit on the county. I don't know if you're aware of that. We have county duties.
Right.
We've kept the county budget down, so that way we're not hitting the taxpayers.
Right.
On that there too. So that's why I was so motivated when I heard you say you don't support a sales tax or payroll tax.
Yeah, thank you. You'll be
Yeah.
a welcome addition to the house. I had a question for you. The Deerfield Fair. I've never been to the Deerfield
Oh, I
though,
went.
but I
It
saw
was
the pictures
awesome.
on Facebook, so
Yeah.
I thought that you were there. Did you
Well,
gentlemen go?
Yeah,
I didn't go.
I helped set up the booth for the Deerfield Fair, so
And they put you
I-
right across from the opposition?
Democrats.
Well, it's a little bit catty corner, so
Right.
we're not directly across.
Well,
but
yeah,
enough
right
to,
there. You can see them, and they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No,
heard.
no
I heard
problems.
that they were
Oh.
they weren't
No-
being
No
nice.
real
and-
problems, no real problems,
Yeah.
but we heard through some friendly vendors that they had some choice words for us. But more importantly,
Yeah.
we were there to just put out the good word of all the great accomplishments that the state has made. I put together a presentation that goes on continuously behind us that just hits the high points of who's running for office, the accomplishments done by the governor, the legislature, just to get people to know. We had a lot of traffic. In fact, I had one lady, I was wearing my Veterans Air Force hat the first day I was there. One lady came over and says, I give this to every veteran that I see, and she put this band on my
that's
wrist.
nice.
This is
In red,
what
white,
she
and blue.
does. Right. And so I thought, well, I'm going to wear it until it comes off. It was very, very nice of her.
Can I see? Well, you're
Yeah,
going to
it
wear
Well,
it.
doesn't come off, it's tied
Okay,
on.
all right.
Yeah, no, I mean Sherman, his wife Normie, go up there also, and it's a shame. I'm going to bring it up. Sherman was married 52 years, and we just lost. Londonderry lost an angel here in town. His wife Joanne had just passed away last week, and God bless her. So. But like I said, when you seen Sherm, you seen Joanne, and other places, the Deerfield, all over the state.
I think we were
which
all
was-
shocked.
Yeah, we were all surprised at that there. So I can understand why this year, Sherm didn't get out there to the Deerfield, but he had other priorities and family and everything else. But he's been a fighter for us, that's for sure, up there at the State House, and
Well, now
I've
he
learned
has
a lot
someone on
from
the
him.
other side
Yeah.
putting in a good word too. Don't let that rat get away with that.
Tom, you have any goals of what you want to do, or what you want to make a difference in, or what you want to legislation?
Well, I would like to angle my contribution maybe to the municipal side, committees that might work on that. Again, I think I can add without having to wait and watch and learn a lot, which I think is important for a freshman, but to bring right away, hey, if we in Concord are going to do this, let me tell you how it's going to be dealt with at the community, because I know, because I have to deal with it, and I've been dealing with it. That's one thing. The other thing is, being a veteran and being very partial to veterans, I'd like to make a contribution there as well.
Awesome.
Well, as far as the vets go, from my experience, because I was on a Veterans Affair twice, we're all together. Both parties,
Good.
usually on most bills, we're all together when it comes to the veterans.
Every veterans bill that I put in, and I put in quite a bit of them, passed a lot of laws in the last 12 years, I've always had Democrats and Republicans on there, because I always tell them, even when I was the chair, and I'm the vice chair of it now, but I said, veterans issues are nonpartisan. There should be, but yet I have
And that's true.
Democrats that say, oh yeah, we're going to support it, and if we don't roll call them, they vote against it.
Right. I was
They
part of
fight us behind the scenes.
there are specialized veterans tax benefits, but the big one, the $500 enabling legislation.
Right, you pushed that, that's right.
I was part of that back in the early 2000s
Right,
when that
I
came in.
remember that.
We went in, and now we're getting what I'll call phase 2 of that, because it's being expanded beyond just designated warriors to all veterans, and we're in the process, I know in Londonderry, of of implementing that. I think we're up to 300, and then we're going to go to 400, and then to 500. That's
Right.
our plan. We have well over $1 million worth of tax benefits just in our town going back to veterans
Right.
with those laws.
No, that's awesome. Sherm, what do you think? You got anything going on you're looking to change or add this year, or you?
Well,
Bills,
I think reality is we have to have a serious discussion on how we're going to fund our highways in the future. You know, the federal highway fund went in the red back in the last year of George Bush's administration. And ever since then, they've been putting in more and more money every year out of the general fund down there just to supplement the highway fund. And then we're not that much better in the state of New Hampshire. I mean, with the amount of gas being sold, it's not keeping up because of your hybrids, because of your electric vehicles, because cars are getting 30 to 40 miles a gallon right now. The gas tax is not keeping up to properly fund our highways. And it is becoming a serious problem. Not just on the state highways, but in the towns.
Right.
I don't know if you've been in Manchester lately, but you know, if you go in Manchester lately, I mean, some of the roads down there are just horrific.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about,
but, you know, I just wonder if Manchester, like Londonderry, uses the money that they get from the gas tax. There's a name for it. I can't even think of the name.
You get 12% back.
Yeah, but I mean, Londonderry. Why are Londonderry repairing our roads and they're not? I mean, you know, they got to be getting 3 times as much as we get.
Well, I think their roads are probably in most cases a lot older.
Right. I know they are
You know,
older.
they are a lot older, and they haven't been properly maintained.
Right.
Because they don't have the money to properly maintain
it's
them.
expensive. If you have to replace the road, which is the worst possible situation, it's about $1 million a mile
Right.
for these town-sized roads. Much more for the state-sized roads, but the town-sized roads about $1 million a mile. So we tried to do what they call shim and overlay, which is a kind of replacement where we don't have to replace the whole road, but we can kind of keep up with it, and we have to keep it on we have a couple hundred miles worth of roads in town, and that's a
And
lot
we're
of roads.
what, 36 mile? Is it 36
Yeah,
mile?
something like that, 36
Something like
square
that,
miles,
yeah,
yeah.
square miles here. But
We have a large
yeah,
area.
so I just
mean-
hope we're not going to punish. You know, those, like, for instance, my wife drives to Lexington, Mass. She gasses up a lot in in Massachusetts, too, you know, whenever she needs gas. But she's got a Volkswagen. Me, I have a Cadillac. I make up for what she's missing. You know what I mean? So there's got to be a way to figure this out.
Well,
without-
I just brought it up because it is becoming an issue, not just in New Hampshire, but
Right.
nationwide. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
is an issue. I mean, if you look at, all the numbers, we're well over $1 trillion behind taking care of our roads properly.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's something that I think that needs to be worked on, over the next few years.
Right.
It's not going to be something you're going to instantly fix just like that.
Yeah,
But it is an issue that is affecting all communities and states in the
Right.
country.
I mean, when you have, I'm sorry, Doug. When you have roads that are in tough shape, it wears on your car, your wheels and your alignment and so
alignment
forth.
especially.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are extended costs beyond just the municipal costs or the state costs.
the plows
There's
don't
consumer
compete.
costs,
Yeah.
right, and the
But
plows.
maybe
and
the
so
state needs to do like the town does, where you put so much money away every budget.
Right.
And it, it goes towards, and then plus the other money that comes in, goes thrown into the gas tax. Because we gave away, how much money did you get? Remember the governor went around giving the checks there for infrastructure, giving the money back?
Oh,
Yeah, we get about
Yes.
$500,000 back, I think.
I think Londonderry got $500,000.
Right.
I think it was about 30 million total, something like
30
that.
million,
Thir-
yeah.
yeah.
At the
$38 million
risk of
the government
us
did
stirring
back.
up the hornet's nest, I am going to ask though, is part of the reason that it costs so much to pave the road because we have union workers that get paid a lot more than private companies that would bid?
We almost exclusively outsource it to private companies.
But
Well, Continental does a
Yeah,
lot of
they
ours.
do a lot.
A lot of it, Jeanine, is all the damn government regulations that they have to abide by. Both, the town and the state have to abide by when they're doing a road.
But to Sherm's point earlier, I believe that we need to change the paradigm on how we fund these roads, because the old method of gasoline tax isn't going to work much longer because of the world is changing.
Right.
And so we need to look at a different paradigm. Now, I know we had a few bills that came through that attempted to change that. Some I supported, some I didn't. None of them got passed. But to rely on the gas tax now, the only way you're going to keep it going is if you raise the tax, which is what we don't want to do. So we want to change the paradigm of how vehicles, who, whether they use gas or not, they're still going on the road, and they're still beating up the road. So there has to be a way that we can, get funds to keep those roads in good operating order, because infrastructure is one of the main and specified purposes of government.
Well, can't we cut back some of the regulations?
Absolutely,
Well,
if it
Can't we
makes sense.
fill the bucket and
That's what
stop
President Trump
allowing?
is saying to do.
Right, but we talked about last time you were on the show with the bucket that has all the holes in it, because other departments are allowed to reach in and take money out of that funds, and because they're constitutionally allowed to.
The constitutional, mainly, well, in all fairness, the the registration money that goes into the highway fund, which has nothing to do with the gas tax. If I'm correct, it's like 130, 140 $1 million that they collect for registrations, and they're allowed to keep a certain percentage of that. But still, they're putting in around 75 million worth of registrations. Now, I mean, obviously, you'd have to change the Constitution to say that the Department of Safety, couldn't keep that money that they use, but that goes to, fund state troopers and everything else. So if you get rid of the 75 million that, and I think it's around that the Department of Safety keeps, you'd have to find another way to fund that.
Would it be beneficial if we put those in a line item once and for all and get them off the gas tax and give them their own line now where we're budgeting for them in the budget, and then that gas tax will just stay focused for this,
Well, it's not,
you know,
it's not the
because-
gas tax that we're talking. The gas tax money goes into the highway fund.
Right.
It's the
the
registration
registration fees, right.
registration fees that, the Department of Safety collects,
Yeah.
puts into the highway fund. But
I
they're
s-
allowed to keep so much of
You
it.
remember the bucket? Remember Bill
Yes.
O'Brien's bucket?
Yeah, the bucket.
With all the holes, it's being siphoned off here and there. And once I know that, I would support anything if I could see that we're not siphoning money out of there, going in different directions. Then I
Well,
would
you
say,
said it goes to the state troopers, but is that the only money they get?
No.
the
I
state,
mean, it goes to the Department of Safety. I mean, I can't tell you the exact breakdown, but, I mean, it is approximately about $75 million. So you'd have to, I
and
mean,
that's really a small drop. Then,
you'd
too.
have to
That's-
find some place to replace
Yeah.
that money. But the $75 million would certainly be a benefit to the highway fund right
A
now.
lot of the
But in
tickets and fines go to the troopers too, don't they?
in the same respect, that's a short-term fix. I guess just what I'm saying is that this is gonna be a problem that is gonna be facing all legislators across the country and the federal government, in the future. And
Well-
I wish the federal government had done more to begin with, but they haven't. I mean, they really haven't done a darn thing to fix this thing, whether it's Democrat or Republican administrations, and it needs to be fixed.
On the Science and Tech Committee, we had somebody come in and show us a proposal of a new transportation system where you have to go stand in the freezing cold, I guess, and wait for one of these little pods to show up, and you get into the little pod and it goes up and it takes you across. It looks like a ride that you would see at Disneyland. And I'm
was a
like,
great
excuse me,
proposal.
Right.
I have boys. Do those windows open? No. I'm like, oh, no.
And they were gonna
What
fund
if
that
somebody gets
themselves,
sick
right?
on
Yeah,
that?
they were, yeah.
Not taxpayers'
I don't mind
money.
private projects if they want to try something, but it was pretty innovative, but very.
It was interesting, but to me it looked more like something you'd see in an amusement park rather than
Exactly.
replacing
'Cause
cars.
you had to
and-
wait for the
and
cab to come down to
expect
you,
all
step
the
into it,
cars
it
to
goes back up
disappear off
again,
the
it goes-
road, and you ride in these little pods with the windows that don't open, and you're enclosed in a place, and if somebody
I'm-
gets sick, it smells.
I've heard a prediction that when 15, 20 years, there'll be driverless Ubers that will come pick you
Right,
up and take
yeah.
you places.
Isn't
So,
that-
so Doug, what's your game plan for the next session?
Again, working on areas of how we can reduce our electric bill, for one. That seems to be the hot topic. And I dare say there are proposals coming through that we need to be very careful about. Last year, they attempted to have a study to see about carbon taxing.
Yep.
And
We'll support it.
that's just a euphemism for raising prices for anything that's made out of carbon. There was a proposal that came through that wanted us to be 100% renewable by 2040. You know, anyone that knows anything.
Oh, that was Somsage's bill.
You know,
Representative Somsage, yeah.
renewables, at least in my near lifetime, will never be base load. And so if you go 100%, what's going to happen if you need something really quick and the sun, wind aren't there? You need a base load. So we have to be careful about goals that we set, because as Massachusetts has shown us, when they set their goals and then they tried to say, well, we're not going to really meet those goals yet because we can't, they went to court and the state Supreme Court said, your legislature said this was your goal, you have to meet it. We have to be careful
Right.
Yep.
that we don't
Well, the
just, it's
governor-
only a goal.
The governor just came out with his, 10-year
Energy plan.
energy plan. And I read about halfway through it. I mean, he's going in all different directions, which makes sense.
Well, it does.
So we're not depending on just,
That's right.
one area.
We should diversify. I mean, we should use solar. We should use wind where it's applicable.
I don't like that.
But
Kills the bats.
But
Bats eat
it's, but
mosquitoes.
it's not there yet. You know,
Right.
It's just not there.
I have a question. Would you support rebating the RGGI or Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative funds, the surplus and the RPS back to the ratepayers?
I would, but I would also make sure that there were funds to keep some of the weatherization programs going on as well, because weatherization does help, efficiency for keeping your, bills down. But I don't think that should be funded by a hidden fee, So if a ratepayer is being charged for something that he's not getting, I think he should get it back. If weatherization is that important, and it is for many people, I don't know, put it in the general fund.
Well, you're never going to please everybody, and there's always
put it
going to
up
be a
front.
cutoff, and somebody just above that is, I didn't get the free weatherization. I still have to put a towel in the window.
Only a few hundred homes, I believe, got that with the money they had. Of course, if they give more, they get more. But again, the ratepayer is paying for something that they're not getting, except someone who says, well, you're benefiting because you're kind of protecting the whole world, and which is noble and good, but I think there's a better way.
Well, Sherm, what do you think, Sherm? Where are we going? You think
Well-
we're going to have this red wave or blue wave?
Tsunami.
Well,
Tsunami.
I do believe that we are going to maintain the majority.
I
Both
agree.
in the House, the Senate, and the governor is going to get reelected, which will allow us to continue being as frugal as we have been and not raise taxes on people, not just sales or an income tax, but not raise taxes, period. That's a commitment we made, and I think it's important that we adhere to that. So all I can say is to the people of Londonderry is if you want to make sure that your taxes aren't raised, is vote Republican. Because we will not raise your taxes like the Democrats did back in 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Right.
Where they did raise or increase 100 new taxes, gave us an $850 million hole in the budget that we had to address in 11 and 12. And I hope we don't go down that road again.
Well, we were fortunate. I mean, the last two budgets, we did not downshift. We didn't mandate anything down to the local. Now, we have no control over the retirement, because those rates are set by that retirement board. But what we did do a few years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, we took out some of the union members in there and put duty experts on stocks, financial management people in there, right?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly
And
what
it's
it
made
was,
a big
but
difference
yeah,
now
yeah.
on, getting a return on the retirement money. And I'm not sure where our deficit is right now on the
I
retirement.
don't know. I know they, for a while there, it was pretty big, $3 or $4 billion. We were in a deficit in the retirement fund.
Right. So, Tom, I hope you're prepared now because, this, Sherm's up there probably 4 days a week. I'm up there probably 3, sometimes 4. He might even be up there 5, depending
Sometimes
what's
I
going
am.
on. Yeah,
Sometimes
sometimes.
I am.
Get
I've
on
been-
the finance committee.
Yeah.
You'll be there 7 days a week.
I've been wanting to jump in for a while, and with my work schedule, it wasn't possible. And now that I'm retired from that particular job, now I
See,
have
that
the
makes a
time
difference
to
being
dedicate.
retired. I mean, because I'm fortunate. I was the system majority leader, then vice chair of a committee. Then they put me on. I was on rules, and they cut me out of rules and put me on the labor committee to help
Yeah,
out there.
Al was in labor.
So, but I had the time because what killed us this time, we had, 35, 40 reps. Republicans that didn't show up. Democrats on the Democrat side had even more, or had a lot that didn't show up either. So
We usually, on any given session day, we had anywhere from 30 to 40 Republicans that didn't show up. The Democrats were running maybe 15, 20.
Right, yeah.
And that can happen. I mean, when you've only got a 20, well, right now we only have a 16 vote majority. It's we're at 216 or 215. You have 25, 30 people that don't show up, and on any given day, it'll affect your votes.
Right. If you watched Fox last night, Fox took my quote and had it on Fox News.
Oh, I heard
Really?
you
They
were on
said,
the news.
yeah, because I said the silent majority is out there. I was talking with a
They
reporter.
showed him. He's not silent.
Yeah, they showed me with Donald Trump there in the picture on Fox News there at Trump Tower. But anyways, what we're talking about, there's no blue wave. It's not coming. Because look at the people that are going to these rallies, that are going there 5 o'clock in the morning for a 3, 4, 5 o'clock rally to make sure that they get in there. And they got to turn away thousands of people. So the silent majority is alive and well. I honestly believe with the tax breaks, the Republicans are going to take and keep everything.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah, I honestly believe that.
And I'd like to mention that you're talking about rallies. Anyone that wants to come and listen to our candidates will be here in Londonderry tonight.
Well, of course, they won't see this is being taped
That's true
anyways.
too.
Yeah.
I
Right.
forgot about that. But we will have a good time there. And
But they
people
can-
will hear good
They
ones.
can watch for us on the street corners and
That's right.
all over
Doing
town.
some sine waves here and there. Get people to know
Yeah,
us.
see, you were part of, I think, on establishing that commission to review and evaluate the workforce and job training. That was with the governor and stuff. You assigned some people to that commission on the establishing the commission to review and evaluate workforce
Yes,
and the
yes.
job training there, that HB 1100.
Yeah, we had like 150 commissions we assigned people to, and if you're gonna ask me who was assigned to
No,
that.
I know that. No, but I thought that was a great bill there because of it's taking a look on how we can bring in more companies. And then I know we try to drop the, because one of the big issues is energy, as we talked, and we try to drop that there, the subsidies, but, that was a tide. But
Well, we'll keep trying.
very important here because even Londonderry, I mean,
Right.
aren't we the fastest growing?
Yes.
Right, we're the fastest
Community.
growing. One of the things that, one way to look at growth, we know there's going to be additional pull on our tax revenues because of the growth and so forth. So, again, good financial management, I think, was to look at our industrial land and try to develop it. Those big companies you see up by the airport,
Right.
those big buildings all give us a little over $1 million apiece every year in property tax revenue. And they don't put anybody in the schools. They're very low drain on police and fire.
Right.
So very low drain, very positive to the revenue. And that's one of the ways that Londonderry, I mean, from a regional standpoint, has some of the lowest property taxes in the region because of good, smart financial management. And I think that's a model. I was talking with the governor. I said, that's a model that we ought to try to
I wish Merrimack
Right.
would follow suit. They're putting in workforce housing and
yeah, we've got some of that too.
Apartments.
Well, I tried twice to repeal workforce housing because I promised I would. The committees, didn't pass it. It went to the floor. We overturned it twice, sent it to the Senate, and they killed it.
Yeah, I think in Londonderry
You know?
we've done our fair share.
Yeah, I
at
think
this
we
point.
need to say enough is enough. I agree.
Now I believe.
We got about 4 minutes left here. Tom, we'll go around. We'll start with you, Tom. If you give some information real quick about yourself and how people get in touch with you.
Sure. My phone number, my cell number is 321-2071. Happy to take your calls anytime. You'll see me. I'm still on the town council, so you can see me on the town hall every couple of weeks at our weekly televised meetings. I'm happy to talk to anybody email-wise. You can contact me at TOMD 0610 @gmail.com.
Okay, we'll put that up on the screen for everyone to see that after.
So I'm happy to communicate, and I've always been a good open communicator with the public, and willing to talk about any issue and field any questions that people
That was
have.
And you want that vote.
321-2071?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're asking for their vote, is that what you just said?
Yes,
Right here?
right.
Okay. How about you, Doug?
Well, I'm asking for the town to please put me back into the House. I'd like to remain on the Science and Tech and Energy Committee. As I have on my printed material, they can reach me at dougthomasnh@gmail.com or at 490-3226. I also serve on the Senior Resources Committee in town. I'm on the advisory board of the Greater Londonderry YMCA. And I am going to go back and work on something with the electric bills because we need to get those prices down.
I think
Amen.
you
I
should
will
say the
say-
clerk.
And I was, well, maybe not, and, go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Well, thank you, Jeanine and Al, for having us here today, first of all. I think this is a great benefit to the citizens of Londonderry, to learn, where we stand. And I've been a resident of Londonderry for 45 years. I am serving in my 14th term, and I would appreciate the votes to serve in my 15th term. I know I have made a difference through the years, and I'd like to say that if you want to keep more money in your pocket, vote Republican.
Amen.
Amen. We agree with you.
I'm Representative Al Baldessar. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, 425-6997. One thing we didn't talk about, there's going to be a Constitution Amendment. Vote yes on question 1. What this does is taxpayers' lawsuit against government. You have the right to hold your government accountable. And very important here, and there'll be another one, question 2, which will be dealing with right to know. Very important. Transparency, and the people are in charge, not the government.
And I'm Jeanine Nogger. The best way to contact me is actually Facebook Messenger because I check that.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming on board with us here, and it was a great show. At least the people get to know that they need to vote Republican to make sure, and we all have name recognition, but we all have reputation of doing things for our community. It makes a big difference. Jeanine, well, another great show we had here, and are you going to be running tomorrow?
Yes, 24 to
Do you run in
26
the rain?
miles.
I seen a picture. You
I do.
running
I
in the
didn't.
snow.
I didn't run today. Oh yeah, I ran in the snow too. I did not
That's-
run today or
she's
yesterday
unbelievable,
because
this
I'm
lady.
saving up for the 20
I
plus
have
miles.
flashbacks as a Marine. See, Tom is a West Pointer,
Oh,
so
that's
he's
cool.
He's used to that PT stuff there too. Doug, I don't know. He was Air Force. They like the golf courses.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Back in the
Hey, my
back-
boys are Air
exercise.
Force.
Back in
Yeah.
the old days, we used to run in boots.
That's right. Yeah,
We didn't
I
have
remember those
sneakers or
days.
running shoes.
Yep.
Well, that's why I started running because when I was 35 years old, we had boot camp at my gym, and I did not make it to the end of the parking lot. So I went to the library and got a book of all things to learn how to run, and that's.
Once again, this is Who's Looking Out for You, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.